All right, guys. Well, Ethan's on the show. Everyone say hello to Ethan Ralph. Wave.
Hello.
What's going on, sir? How are you doing?
Nothing much, man. Doing well. Like I said, covering a lot of different stuff today. Big news that, my show, we cover a lot of different news topics. Pope, yay, said some things that were pretty controversial. And another guy, you saw it, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I've been running around getting this show ready and doing the wrestling stuff this morning. So I've actually didn't. I heard about the Pope, but I didn't hear about anything there with Ye. So
I don't know if you want to hear it. I'll just maybe let you discover that on your own. It's disturbing to say the least. But yeah, what did you think about WrestleMania?
All right, so I was just telling my audience. All right, I feel like this year they went for a different vibe entirely. Like if you actually follow the entire show from start to finish and you look at the match outcomes, in general, most matches went to the heels. Like a lot of them went to the heels. And it was a lot of like title changes to a heel, or heel is now leading this plot line moving forward. And I think that's kind of jarring for the audience because last year you had this culmination of the giant Cody Rhodes plot line, years in the making, defeating the undefeated streak of Roman Reigns. And now you've got the opposite this year, where it's like everyone's deflated. Cena now has everyone hostage. Seth has become the big villain on the other side. And every show kind of ended on like a bad note. So I think overall it kind of gets people guessing like what's going to happen next, but it kind of makes it feel like a negative thing. And I also feel like this show was so commercialized with Travis Scott music playing constantly, stupid Fatal Fury ad in the middle of the ring, freaking DJ at the beginning of the show coming out. No one knows who the fuck that guy is. It was just such a overly produced, commercialized show to try to make money that in a lot of cases it felt like the wrestling kind of took a back seat, and that's not a good thing, especially when I don't feel like the stuff that they took paychecks for was in line with pro wrestling. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't think Travis Scott's mumble rap music is pro wrestling music. I don't find that it makes sense as part of that product. But overall, I just was not really enjoying it. There were a few things that I liked that were shocking. Like there's a couple matches there I thought I was gonna hate, and I actually really liked. But most matches were kind of boring. A lot of them were rushed. Very predictable outcomes. Like very, very predictable. You kind of could know what was going to happen 90% of the time in these matches. And when there's no real shocks, then it's kind of like, why did I sit around watching 8 hours of wrestling this weekend when I kind of already knew it was going to happen? So overall, it wasn't awful, but it was nowhere near as good, I say, last year's. And I was kind of disappointed and bored with a lot of it and didn't really like it overall.
Well, I guess I'd give it, I hate to give it a thumbs down, but like it's very close to full thumbs down territory, really. There were some great matches. The triple threat on night one, that's contender match of the year, probably, with CM Punk and Rollins and Reigns. That was a great match. That honestly, blows the Cena Rhodes match just completely out of the water. That was a total disappointment. I didn't even see that live. Like I stopped watching and then went back and rewatched it later on because I was just like, okay. And it was worse than I thought it was going to be, actually. Where's The Rock also? Like, I have no idea why he was even involved with this. If he wasn't going to show up at Mania, Travis Scott's there, but The Rock's not there. Right. It makes no sense to me. The finish itself was kind of weak with Rhodes. I mean, I get it. He wasn't willing to do the heelish thing to keep the title. And then, Cena kicks him in the nuts again, which he should have seen coming since that just happened, a couple months ago, right? So he kicks him in the balls again, hits him with the belt, 1, 2, 3. He did have the clean visual pin on Cena with the crossroads, but there was no ref there to count it. So, like, that's a thing in wrestling where, okay, really, he won the match, that in that way. But as soon as I saw that Orton's face was on the poster for Backlash, which is their next pay-per-view, I knew for a fact Cena was going to win because Orton Cena, they have a long legacy of feuding and, one of the classic feuds actually the last 20 years. Right. So right. There was really no mystery who was going to win.
My major problem, like you just said, is that it was Travis Scott getting involved instead of The Rock. What in the holy hell were they thinking there? Like that was such a huge disappointment. That crowd 100% was waiting for The Rock to come out and get involved in this match. I mean, he's the one that got the whole plot line started with Cody saying that I want to own your soul and all of that. And it's like they forgot all about that fucking plot line. Like, where is it? It doesn't even exist anymore. And to have Travis Scott be the one that causes all the commotion and the cheating is so lame. Again, Travis Scott is a mumble rapper, and I get it. All the kids like him, right? But he's not wrestling. They want him to be wrestling, but he has nothing to do with this. He just comes out. It's intrusive. If The Rock came out, no one would have cared. They would have loved it. But they went the payday route, and it kind of spoiled the whole end of WrestleMania night too. But for me, at least, because of that.
Agree 100%. And even if you bring Travis Scott out, The Rock needs to be there with him, right? Like I'm fine if you have The Rock there as well. But just Travis Scott, they did have the Stone Cold. Thought there was a possibility that if Rhodes did retain, which very small chance of that happening, that Stone Cold was going to save him somehow.
Gribble 69 $5 on Rumble.
I'll let that go through. I don't think.
Your thoughts on
I don't think he has any thoughts on that.
Army?
Yeah, I don't think he has any thoughts on that. I don't either. But they had Stone Cold come out and he ran over somebody with his ATV.
That was funny. He hit the wall and the guy's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, suddenly they're gonna get a big fat check, I would imagine, from that. But I think it was a woman actually, and then all of a sudden she had to leave the arena. My neck, my back. I'm sure that's what I would be saying at least. But yeah, I thought it was lackluster. I did like the opening match was the best match of the night. Let me go back. Io Sky and Ripley and Bianca Belair, they made the right call. Io Sky, the face, went over.
Yes.
And like you said,
I was shocked. They went that way, but that's what I wanted to happen. But I was like, holy shit, they actually let her keep the belt. Now maybe she'll get a real title reign because let's be honest, this has not been a real title reign. It's just been her wedged into this triple threat plot line to get Rhea and Bianca to go at it. But now maybe she'll finally get some recognition.
Agree 100%, and she deserves it too. And so I popped for that one live because I was like, yes, because I was almost certain they were going to give it to one of the other two, and they didn't, and it was a great match. I liked the Intercontinental Championship match as well. They made the right call there too with Mysterio going over, even though he's a heel. Although I think, I don't know if they're going to turn him face or turn Balor face. Like I'm not really certain.
The weirdest part about that was the crowd reaction because, as we know, the crowd has really gone nuclear for Dom every time he comes out. He can't even talk. The boos are so overwhelming. And now they turned on him in a good way. They were cheering for him. They wanted Dom to win this match. He became like the underdog hero, and they went crazy when he won. So now you're right. Could this be like now Dom will flip and he'll be a face and people will want him to lead Judgment Day over Finn, and maybe that'll be the plot line moving forward and Finn will be the heel moving forward? That'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and originally I thought it was going to be Balor was going to be the face going forward, but now after that, I don't know. They could go either way with it, and it would be good. I think they made the right call on putting the belt on Mysterio. It's time for that. He's been one of the hottest acts over the last year and a half, and he deserved it. And Braun Breaker still came out looking like a beast, so it's not like he looked bad. And it was a fatal 4-way anyway, so it worked out. He didn't take the pin either. I will say, you mentioned something earlier. Usually the faces go over at WrestleMania. Well, that's the whole point of WrestleMania, really, with rare exceptions. The faces are almost always, that's been Vince's theory. Right. Now, Vince is not there now, but like that's the blow off, right? WrestleMania, the faces finally go over with some exceptions here and there. But that's kind of the point of WrestleMania. Faces go over. And this year there wasn't a lot of that. Matter of fact, both main events, heelish finishes. I don't know that would have happened on Vince's watch. And some people brought up some criticism of Triple H that I think was fair. And for the most part, I've loved what he's done. He bought AAA, which is a wrestling company here in Mexico. I think that could be a big collab. They're the number 2 wrestling company, but they've been in financial trouble, so he bought them. I'm hearing some things about New Japan as well, perhaps. That would be even bigger. But, I've liked what he's done for the most part, but this build for WrestleMania was not that good, really. And I think the European tour, even though the crowds were hot, I think the European tour didn't help. I know they made a ton of money off of it, and the crowds were super hot, but it kind of, the Raws are starting at like 3 in the afternoon, SmackDown starting at 3 in the afternoon. I think that killed some of the buzz. Cena wasn't on enough shows. The Rock completely disappeared, so that made no sense. Like what the Rock should have came out and explained how he talked Cena into it or something. Like I don't know, anything. And then for him not to be there at Mania at all, it just didn't feel special. And here goes
Sage Retard sent $5 on
this is a point I have too.
DSP That Joe Hendry moment of him spinning and smiling then getting KTFO, thoughts? Lol. Also as a non-wrestling fan, I'm enjoying the crossover. P.S. You have the goofiest haters. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you for that. And I agree on all those points. I was going to make the point about Joe Hendry. So he's the TNA world champion, right? And they have a working relationship with TNA. And it's cool. And I have another viewer here, Ada Wolf, and he's like, oh, it didn't hurt him, right? You know, he got his WrestleMania moment. To me, it made him look like a jobber, honestly. And he's TNA's top guy. Now, it's cool that he got put on WrestleMania. I agree with that. But, you know, I don't think that was really smart of TNA to have their world champion job out to Orton in like 5 minutes or whatever it was. And then Orton,
and this is not just once, this is twice. He was in the Rumble, and in the Rumble, he didn't really do much either. He looked crappy.
Yeah.
I like his theme. Like, I've never seen him in TNA because I don't watch TNA. And the theme song is like inspirational, right? So you think this guy's going to do something good. And then he just stands around in the Rumble, gets tossed right out. Here in this match with Orton, he barely does anything. I'm like, man, I think that makes TNA look really weak. I really do.
I do too. And, you know, it's cool of him. You know, every wrestler wants to go to WrestleMania. Every wrestling fan wants to go to WrestleMania. I went one year, WrestleMania 35. So, like, I get it, but it should have been at least a 10-minute match and a little bit more given his way, in my opinion.
Wow, it was 3 minutes, 10 seconds.
See, it wasn't even 5 minutes. That's job level, you know, time. So, and that's the world champion of TNA. So, and you know, Ada Wolf said it didn't matter. He's going to get his moment. You know, he's going to down the line, and that might be true, but it makes TNA look like a complete joke that their world champion. Now it is Randy Orton. You know, he's like a 14-time champion or something himself, WWE champion. So, you know, it's not like he lost to some, you know, scrub or whatever, but 3 minutes for the TNA world champion to just get smoked like that. And then Randy Orton RKO'd him twice. He gave him an extra one, just rubbed it in, basically treated him like a jobber. It's just like, damn, okay, TNA. I don't think that was worth it for TNA, honestly. I wouldn't have done that if I was them, but maybe WWE slipped him a little extra cash, who knows? But that didn't really
North
make any
Scout said
sense.
$3 this year. It's North Scout. Even Ralph, let me tell you. I'm glad to have come to my stream. I'm glad to have found you guys when Twitter tells you to. Kind of my accounts because you've been a can of witness on them, maybe. Give me LA.
That was supposed to be Stone Cold. North Scout said, tell DSP to unban me. I don't know your relationship with North Scout, but yeah.
I don't know who that is, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But overall, it just didn't feel like Mania. One thing Vince knew how to do, and of course Vince ain't coming back, but was Mania almost every year felt special. This year with the Cena heel turn, they were headed in the right way. It was feeling special. And I know there were some injuries. Owens got hurt. Rey Mysterio got hurt.
North Scout sent $5 on Rumble.
Yeah, that did sound like
that sounded like shit, lol.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't very good, Stone Cold. But, you know, they had to deal with some things. You know, the Owens injury. Mysterio got hurt. You know, there were some outside factors, but I feel like the European
and I think one of the major factors is that 40 last year was so good. Everyone kind of agrees 40 was like the culmination of what they could do with modern wrestling. How do you top that? And the answer is they didn't even try. Like they really weren't trying to top that giant plot line. So
yeah, they didn't. And I also, they kind of, you know, when I went to WrestleMania, the tickets, I think where I sat, I was in a pretty good section. They were like $500 a piece, I think, or maybe it was like $400 a piece for me and my ex-wife. We went to WrestleMania, but this year the prices were insane. I saw a lot of people complaining about that, and you know, if it's WrestleMania, you know, it better be worth it, right? And you had people paying, you know, having to sell a kidney to go to the show, and with a few exceptions, it really just didn't have the Mania feel. You know, they had the big stage, they had everybody there. The crowd night one was kind of dead. I would say they were a little bit more lively night two, but also the crowd.
Attendance was much higher night two. It was like 2,000 or 3,000 more people. I guess they just didn't even show up for the first night.
Yeah. I don't know, but the first night's crowd, yeah, they were kind of lost. I'll say my favorite match, obviously the triple threat, Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. Interested to see where that goes. Uso, Gunther, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand having Gunther tap out, but to me that makes him look weak. He didn't need to lose like that. Now I get it that Uso basically stole all Gunther's moves, right, to defeat him. So I get the psychology behind it, but for him to tap out to a sleeper in 5 seconds, it's like, okay, did that really need to happen? I feel like they did that to legitimize Uso's reign. Maybe they're going to keep the belt on him for a little while.
Right.
So
my take on that match is they absolutely needed to do something to legitimize Jay
Yeah.
because Jay has not been legitimate up to now.
Right.
The way they did the match, because it was a lengthy match, because Jay withstood everything that Gunther had and threw at him, made him look good, probably arguably for the first time since he won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So finally, you're like, I kind of believe it now. But the problem is it was done at the expense of basically destroying Gunther. Now Gunther looks like a jobber. He looks like an asshole. You basically lost to your own moves. He beat your ass, and he was supposed to be the unstoppable world heavyweight champion. And now where does Gunther even go? Like, I don't see him being successful rematching Jay. So what are they going to do with this guy now? I don't know. He went from being this insanely long reigning IC champ to being a long reigning world heavyweight champ to basically losing to his own moves at WrestleMania at a curtain jerking match. Now, what do you do with the guy? I feel like they kind of ruined it.
And tapped out in 5 seconds. It's like, okay, at least, hold on for 30 seconds or whatever. Like, I don't know. That was baffling to me. I understand why they did it to build up Jay, but let's
Sage
see.
Retard sent $1 on Rumble.
Show name.
Show name recommendation if y'all do more of these heel versus heel.
Heel versus heel. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu was pretty good. I think they made the right call there. I don't really think LA Knight needs a belt to be over. Fatu.
No, this was definitely the time to put the belt on Fatu and to have him have a plot line to his own rather than just kind of being the beast interjected into other plot lines. Now he'll have a major plot line that'll probably boost him, and I think he needed it. So it was a good choice, I feel. Yes.
Yeah, and I liked, and this is controversial, it's like 50-50 on the internet. Here's
Beth sent
they're
$1
sending in
on
points
Rumble.
too. Sorry about that.
It was BS that Lex Luger wasn't even mentioned with the Hof inductees on night 1.
Yeah, I noticed that Luger wasn't mentioned, but they did show a video package, I think, with him in it. I don't know if that was just a mistake or what, but yeah, that was kind of weird. But yeah, it was the right call to put it on Fatu. The tag titles on New Day, I agree with that too, even though those are both heels winning, but I agree with that call, although the crowd was totally dead. What I was going to say, that I liked the Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair match. Now, some people either loved it or hated it, but it was really stiff. She had a busted lip. It looked like she broken her tooth off, but it was actually blood, I think, on her tooth. Not that her tooth was broken. But I think they worked that stiff on purpose because of the off-script comments about the divorce and stuff like that. And so they wanted that match to look more like, it wasn't a shoot, but to have more of that strong style.
I was torn on that match because there were moments that I thought the match was really well produced. Like whoever scripted that match, I don't know to what extent the wrestlers today are scripting their own matches or if they have producers who actually like do all that too. Some of the spots were really good, but the spots were done poorly. There's a lot of botches in that match too. They're trying to do stuff on the top rope and they're flipping and slipping and this looks horrible. At the same time, the match went really long. It was a long drawn out match. It showed the stamina of both women. I'm torn. Like I liked parts and I hated parts. I don't really care about who won though. Like to me, like I don't like Tiffy. I didn't want Charlotte to win. So I was like a passable match for me. I didn't really love it.
Yeah, and well, there's some points where people were pointing out that Charlotte Flair was actually reminding Tiffy of some of her spots that she was forgetting. And Charlotte Flair, the super veteran, right? I don't know. I give her points for doing the job, and I don't even know if Charlotte's going to be around that much longer anyway. So I think she did the right thing. It was a stiff match, but I don't know. It's very controversial, like you said. Yeah, people pointed out a lot of the botches too. There were definitely some there. I'm looking at the rest of night 1. Nothing else really stands out, honestly.
Adal Wolf sent $2 on Rumble. Cornette said he'd come out of retirement only, and if only Jacob Fatu wanted a manager. We need to meme this into existence.
Well, Cornette needs to be in the Hall of Fame. That's a totally separate story. But and then honestly, I enjoyed night 1 more than night 2. Really.
Yeah.
So
I think so. I think I agree with you there too. I think that overall, some of the plot lines coming to culmination, seeing some of the titles change, going the right way. And that the main event of night 1 was much better than the main event of night 2. So overall, it felt like a better night. And then you start watching night 2 and it's kind of like, I started to feel tired. Like I'm getting fatigued watching the second night of this because there's not a lot to get excited for here.
I literally fell asleep and then went back and watched the main event. So that's not a good sign. And then I went back and watched it and I was like, I could have just skipped this. Like, I mean, it wasn't like the worst match I've ever seen, but it's not WrestleMania main event level caliber, right? And we already discussed all the reasons it didn't make any sense. I do think Cody will probably get the belt back by the end of the year. And Cena, as the year goes along, I think he's going to turn back into a face probably before he officially retires. But we'll see. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, from night 2, I'll say the opener was amazing. I love the triple threat for the Women's World Championship.
Yes. That was my favorite match of night 2 by far, was the opener.
Same here. The Fatal 4-Way was really good too. The Women's Tag Team Championship, the only thing cool about that was Becky Lynch coming back. The match itself, I didn't really think too much of it, but Becky Lynch got a huge pop.
I want to ask you this. The outfits that the War Raiders and Drew McIntyre were wearing, what did you think of these outfits that these guys were coming out in? I'm just curious because I have a very interesting thought process, but what did you think?
I don't know.
What these armor they were coming out in?
It looked strange to me. Yeah. What is your theory on it? I really didn't give it much thought, but I did notice.
Dude, it looked straight up like He-Man Masters of the Universe shit. Like it looked like toy accessories. And I'm like, the thing is, they probably paid top dollar for that shit. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not even good enough to be in like a B movie. And this is what they're wearing at WrestleMania. Why? Just wear your normal shit. Seriously. Like, why spend all that money and stuff to come out and look like stupid? It looks like it's cheap plastic.
Yeah, and if people don't know, the wrestlers pay for their own costumes. Like, that's not provided by WWE because they're independent contractors. Right. And so, and there's a few, people who basically make almost all the costumes, right? And so, yeah, they pay for that out of pocket. But the rest of the night, I mean, Priest versus McIntyre was pretty good, but, it didn't blow me away or anything. But I'm looking at the rest of the card, and I'm just not seeing it.
What about AJ versus Logan Paul? What did you think about that?
Hold on, I'll read this. I'll read this out in a second, North Scout. Just give me 1 second. AJ Logan Paul, I hated it. And so nothing. I loved Karrion Kross's promo after the show. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he cut a hell of a promo after the show and basically pipe bomb style, CM Punk pipe bomb style after the show about how he called him Alan because that's what the A in AJ stands for. Alan. And then started shooting on the creative team. He shot on Triple H. He told the guy in the production truck with the suit on to go F himself. And I'll say that since we're on YouTube, I'll try to another day. A little it's all good sometimes. But yeah, so that I would suggest watching that. But of course, that was after the show.
Okay.
Dale Gribble 69
I'm gonna
$5.
skip that, but thank you. Now I don't know. It just didn't feel like a great WrestleMania, and they had a hard time following up on last year's. So there's a lot of ways they can go from here, but with a couple exceptions, the triple threat the night 1 and the triple threat the night 2, those are 2 ace matches. Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. I hated it. I thought AJ should have went over there, honestly, but I knew he wouldn't. And that was Karrion Kross's point, was he wasn't willing to do what it took because he tried to help him win or whatever, and he wasn't willing to cheat. No, they'll probably have a feud now if I had to guess. But yeah, I don't know. Logan Paul, I'm not as down on him as some people. Like, he can wrestle, but Karrion Kross in that promo, he's like, maybe I should have just started a YouTube channel and taken a shortcut. And I think all the weddings and all the funerals and everything else I miss being on the road. 300 days a year and this and that. And so he could go in a feud with him too. Either way, they need to do something with Karrion Kross because this guy is just a promo machine. And puts a lot of thought into what he's doing on the screen. So that's one thing I could see coming out of this. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to see Logan Paul go over, even though I knew he would. So I wasn't. Yeah,
for me, like, I thought the technical aspects of the match were good, but I don't know. It's just sad because we all know AJ. We know his history. We know he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
And to see him in there with Logan Paul, and he basically has to get Paul over, you know what I mean? And not that Paul's bad. He's good. He was good in this match for sure. Lots of good spots, lots of great execution. But it's kind of like, in reality, do you really want to see AJ Styles lose to Logan Paul? And now, Logan Paul disappears. He's not going to be around for a while. He'll come back at like SummerSlam or something. And we'll have the AJ and Karrion Kross, feud, which I enjoy. but the whole match just kind of feels like it was a way to segue into the Karrion Kross feud rather than it being an actual interesting match. And I don't know. I thought it was just okay. I didn't hate it, but I thought it could have been better if it had a better story. The story was so rushed, so shitty the way that they put it together.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they didn't really care about the outcome because you knew it wasn't going to last anyway.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The build to Mania, I'm not the only, it's not an original thought. Pretty much everybody's saying this. Just didn't feel right this year. And, say what you want about Vince. He really knew how to build anticipation to the Mania event. Now, Triple H has had, a couple great Manias under his belt, although Vince was still involved in a lot of that, those last two Manias too. So he wasn't totally out of the picture until, January 24. So, he had a big hand in that already, still. He's still the biggest individual stockholder of TKO. I'm not sure if people understand that or not. Even after he sold a large portion of his stock, he owns like 9-10%. So he's still the biggest individual stockholder in the company. So, but he's not making creative decisions. I've seen a lot of people be like, Vince, this wouldn't happen on Vince's watch this week of a build for WrestleMania where we're like, I don't know. Bring Goldberg out, do something. Like there were no spectacle, not too many at least, spectacle moments.
Yeah.
Like, this is what WrestleMania is all about. And I don't even like Goldberg, but I'm just saying, awesome.
You know what it may be, and this is a theory I've heard thrown around recently, is that previously WrestleMania was the big thing for WWE, their giant moneymaker. This is where everyone paid top dollar to attend and all the events around it and everything. But now the theory being thrown around is that WrestleMania does make them a lot of money, but it's really things like we just talked about, their European tour, their Saudi Arabian events. That's bringing in so much money for them now that they don't actually need to put all their eggs in one basket, so to speak, for WrestleMania. So this year, they didn't really have anything great. They don't really care. They're going to roll with the Cena plot line. They're going to roll with the Rollins plot line. Those will be their two major ones, and everything else they'll figure out. Who cares? Just do another Saudi Arabia event and make lots more money, and it doesn't really matter that WrestleMania didn't really crowd please this year. So maybe that's what it is.
They can't afford to do that again. I because it's WrestleMania. And Vince said WrestleMania sells itself, which is true, but you have a couple, 2 or 3 lackluster ones in a row. They can't let this happen again next year. Because especially with the ticket prices they're charging. I know they get $20 million per event, I think, just flat out for the Saudi events. So I understand that they're moving into Mexico now with AAA. I think they might make that like their NXT Mexico probably. So I actually like that move, and they'll probably bring some of their superstars like Vikingo over there to WWE as well. So I think they're making moves. And if they actually buy New Japan, which is like a hot rumor, that would be crazy. So that would be like all-time level nuts. But I think you're right. It's more about. That's not what you want the fans to feel like, though, that they're just there to, have their money extracted from them. And they're not, it's not Mania, right? Like it's not the granddaddy of them all, as they used to call it back in the day. So I don't know. I won't give it a full thumbs down, but partial thumbs down. It's leaning downwards because there were a couple classic matches. But that's not enough, honestly, for Mania. There needs to be a couple more great matches, and there needs to be some like shockers. There were no real shockers besides Becky Lynch coming back, and that was cool to see. But I honestly, I was so pissed on night one. First off, I wanted Punk to win. The match was awesome, and I could kind of tell what was going to happen. That Rollins was going, Heyman was going to side with Rollins because that's just the swerve thing to do, right? But I wanted Punk to win. I wanted to see AJ Lee back, is what I wanted to see, and her to come out and celebrate. So I'm looking for any way to get AJ Lee back in there, and I don't know if we're gonna get it or not. Although Becky Lynch is back now, and she's made some comments about AJ Lee, and so I could see perhaps a mixed tag match at some point, maybe SummerSlam, somewhere down the road with Punk. He's real life married to AJ Lee. And Becky Lynch, of course, real life married to Seth Rollins. So I think that could be a good spectacle if AJ will ever come back. So it's up to her. But that's something that I'm rooting for too. But
let me ask you this, because what I'd like to get is your take. What did you think overall was the best and the worst match of WrestleMania 41? I think it sounds to me like you think that the triple threat main event of night one was your favorite match of the entire event. Was that safe to say?
Yes, the triple threat night one was the best match. Very slightly behind that is the women's triple threat from the night two that started off the show. But yeah, night one triple threat main event was the best match. Yeah, for sure.
Now, do you think it was the wrestling in that match or was it the story? Because here's the thing for me. Like, I really liked the match, but I was disappointed because almost the entire internet predicted that Heyman was going to turn on them and go with Seth. So I'm like, I'm so excited for the match. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, if only I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, if everyone didn't guess, I feel like it would have been better. But knowing that was kind of going to happen was kind of deflating. So I still really like that match. But for me, it's kind of like I would rather be surprised. So because of that, it wasn't as good for me.
I agree.
That's my take.
Well, that's another reason why I wanted Punk to win, because that would have been the real shocker if he would have somehow pulled it out. But it didn't really make sense, I guess, from a booking perspective, and everybody figured out what was going to happen. So yeah, that does detract from it. But the match itself was great, and I really enjoyed it. If that takes away from it, though, yeah, you could say the triple threat women's match was actually better than if that, because that was a shocker to me. I stood up and was like, yes, actually, when they kept the belt on Io Sky, because she deserves a real run, and hopefully she gets one for at least till SummerSlam or longer. So because she's awesome. So and not to the other.
So what do you think was the worst match overall of the whole weekend?
The worst match overall, I mean, if we're talking about probably. Orton versus Hendry, honestly, that was just a job level match, but I don't really count that because, it was just a job squad type thing. I'd probably say the main event night too, honestly, Cody Rhodes, and John Cena, just because of, technically it might not be the worst match. The Cargo match wasn't that good either. And there were a couple others, but it's because it needed so much more, right? It needed so much more. The Rock needed to be there. The match itself was not the worst match, but maybe like a C plus. That's not cutting it. And to me, I would call that the worst match just because of the expectations for that match. And Ada Wolf also said that that Drew was wearing the Doom armor from the new game. Apparently, is what he said.
Who would know that? So another shameless promotion tie-in, and I didn't get it. It's like, come on, man, another one. Jeez.
Yeah. So that's what
I'll agree with you with the Cena Cody match in that the match itself I liked. What I liked when Cena came out and it was all black.
I like that
too.
It
was not even like an entrance, right? Like I thought that was nicely done. That's like the antithesis of what Cena would normally do. And he shows that I'm giving you guys nothing. It goes along with that plot line. You get nothing new. You get nothing at all from me. But the match itself was good until the nonsense at the end when where's The Rock? Where's the plot? Oh, it's fucking Travis Scott coming out. It just sours it. It just turns it entirely. Have Scott come out with The Rock. Have something else interesting happen. Yeah, and that's their ending match. If that was maybe the main event of night one, and the other triple threat was the main event of night two, maybe it would have left you with a better feeling. But yeah, disappointing for me. I agree with you there on that. It really was a disappointing match.
Yeah, and like I said, technically there were worse matches on the card. And then hold on, let me skip this real quick. They're trying to get in there on you. Like I said, technically there were worse matches. And the match itself, not bad, but it's just because the expectations are up here and we were given this, I'd have to rate that the worst match. And that's sad to say because that was the main match on the whole damn card, right? So
right.
That's just my opinion on it. I think they do have a lot of room to do anything they want the rest of the year. I'm intrigued what they're going to do with Cena, how many dates he's going to work. Is it going to be, he's going to add some dates. I think we know the main event for Backlash, though, is going to be Randy Orton versus John Cena. I think we can predict that pretty safely. I think Punk's going to have another match with Cena. I would predict that probably for SummerSlam. But I think Cena's going to hold the belt probably all the way until their last pay-per-view. And then it's going to be Cody. And it's going to be Cody going over, if I had to predict. So that's
I'll agree with you. I think that what they're going to try to do is emulate what they did with Roman, but it's very abridged, right? Really shortened. It's just going to be Cena all year holding the belt. Different people are going up against him, trying to take him down. And then the end of the year when he's officially going to retire, someone beats him, probably Cody, and that completes the storyline. I think that's what they're going for.
Yep. That's what I think. I mean, that's what makes sense to me if I was booking it. So I mean, why even do this if you're not going to run it all the way down? And they're not going to let him retire with the belt. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I like that storyline though. I'm going to be the last real champion. I do like that little touch there. But yeah, I think they're going to run down the clock to their last pay-per-view, and then most likely Cody goes over, and so. But we'll see what happens with Heyman, Rollins. Are they going to form an official like corporate? Remember the old corporation from back in the days?
Right.
Is Heyman actually working with The Rock? Is that going to come out, or do we just need to leave The Rock alone and just let him stay on the sidelines from now on? I don't know. But that would make sense. I don't know. Are they going to do something like that? Some official corporation faction, the corporation. So
I think that, first of all, putting Heyman with Seth makes sense because having it with Roman again, it's getting played out. He's already been with Punk, and that would last for a little bit, but again, it would be played out. Putting it with Rollins is something fresh and new. If The Rock came back in some kind of a capacity where he'd be there a lot, then it would be amazing. But I don't believe that they're going to do that. I don't think they want to keep paying him. I think that he wants to do his own thing. He comes back from time to time. It just sucks that he was the beginning of the Cena Cody plot and then he disappeared. I don't want him to come back, involve himself with this plot for 5 minutes and then disappear for the rest of the year. I'd rather just have him stay away. So
yeah,
I guess we'll have to see, what his schedule's like, but I don't know. It just seems to me like it's very flaky and very disingenuous, because you remember years ago when he said I'm coming back and I'm never going away ever again. Yeah. And then he went away for a million years again. It's like, come on, man. If you're not gonna be there, then don't try to hog the spotlight when it's convenient for you to get the paycheck. Either take off or come back or at least be there for a whole plot line.
I agree. Yeah, if it's going to be another thing, it made the moment so cool when he did the cutthroat, and I even didn't mind Travis Scott being there because he looked like a goon in the background, right? Like I actually, some people were pissed about that, and that he stiffed Cody with the shot, although apparently he was told to do that. So I kind of liked the whole look of the thing, and The Rock being there made it extra special. But then he just disappeared, and there was never any reasoning given for why. How he was able to talk John Cena into this, I don't know. I needed something. He could have cut an interview from some movie set and just broadcast that on air if he couldn't show up in person. But yeah, if it's going to be half-ass, one-time appearance, I wouldn't be in favor of that. Unless maybe it's the cost. Maybe Punk's really close to getting the title at SummerSlam and The Rock comes out or something like that happens. That might make sense. But he needs to be way more involved. But overall, leaning down with a couple of great exceptions, but it just didn't feel like Mania. And I know that, like I said earlier, there were some injuries, but you got to roll with it.
That's right. All right. Hey, thanks for being on my show. I was on your show.
Yes.
That was a cool crossover right there. I appreciate that for your time, and I know you're probably continuing to stream. I'm going to continue to stream as well. I'm going to actually do play-by-play of the whole thing now for my audience. But this was fun. Thanks a lot for the crossover. I think that worked out well.
I enjoyed it, brother. It did. And take care.
Take care. See you later, man.
All right. Peace out. DSP here, live on the Killstream.
Thank you for watching this clip. This is Perspicacity. Remember to like and subscribe.